Hello, everybody. Lisa Sabaniak here from lifelikeyoumeanit.com and the host of the group The Life You Deserve. Today, I thought I would talk to you about my coaching program. I've put a lot of information on the group here and there and really all over my social media sites about my Survivor to Warrior program and little bits of advice and information that I've been giving for quite some time, leading towards what my program can do for you. And I thought I would link this today with specifically imposter syndrome. This seemed to be a big hit when I talked about it on my last Facebook Live. And it seems to be something a lot of my clients are struggling with on a regular basis. Most people, when I am talking with them, regardless of what their past, regardless of their present, they have some sort of imposter syndrome that they are dealing with. So before we get started on this, if you can, whenever you're watching this, whether it's live or afterwards, if you could give me a like, a thumbs up, give me a heart, share it off, give me comments on how you feel, that would be really great. Get involved in the conversation if you can, if you're in a place where that warrants. So a little bit about myself. I am a survivor of 10 years of child abuse from the time I was 2 until I was 12. When we left that person who was abusing me, I continued to abuse myself, particularly emotionally or psychologically. I continued to use the words that he used every single day, that I was useless, worthless, ugly, nobody was ever going to love me, and that sort of thing. Those things really stuck. And I was also abused physically and sexually, but for some reason, the emotional and psychological abuse really is what hit home and was the biggest struggle for me to get over. So I went through, almost every single one, if not all, of the imposter syndrome kind of manifestations, if you will, that I'm going to go through today and that I've gone through in previous videos. And eventually I found myself. I climbed my way out of that hole, and I now help others to do the same, I'm proud to say. So what the heck is imposter syndrome? So really briefly, imposter syndrome is really a lack of self-esteem and self-confidence. It's when you really don't believe at the core, no matter what you're putting on in your external surface, no matter how much confidence it looks like you have, no matter how much you're smiling when you're going through something, deep down inside, you do not believe that you are good enough. Is really what it comes down to. You don't believe that you deserve the things that you have. If you're in a happy relationship, deep down inside, you don't believe that you deserve that. If you have a good job, you're well on your way with your career, you don't believe that you deserve that. For example, you might think that you got lucky. You might actually use those words, that you got lucky with your job interview, that you got an interview at all. You got lucky that you showed up for the interview and you ended up getting that job. And you are lucky every day that you are able to keep that job. It doesn't actually occur to you that luck doesn't have anything to do with it. It was your hard work, and you legitimately beat out other candidates for that same job. And you are proving every single day your worth and value within that company or within that job that you are doing. But you just don't see that. You're waiting for somebody to find you out. You're waiting for somebody to realize your flaws, realize that you don't belong there, that you are not the best candidate for that job in this example. And that's holding you back in lots of different ways, right? You are skipping out on applying for promotions. Maybe you're looking to actually move companies and you are really hesitant at doing that. You are hesitant to speak out in meetings or to lead group projects, things like that, because you really feel deep down inside that you are not the best candidate. And so again, you feel that if you take those positions, that it's going to be easy for somebody to be able to find you out and kind of, pull the plug out of your drain, and down you will go. And then, the deal will be sealed, and you will no longer be able to pull off this game that you are so far pulling off. It might look like perfectionism. right? This real feeling that everything's got to be perfect. It's not good enough to put something out that isn't 100% perfect, because you are really in competition with everybody else. And you really feel like everybody else has such an upper hand over you that in order for you to compete, for you to even be in the game, you have to be perfect. Okay. You are constantly comparing yourself, measuring yourself up, your abilities, your looks, absolutely everything about yourself with others, right? You are not able to really be able to see that you are not in competition with anybody else, that you are perfect being the way that you are here and now. Now, I could go on and on about how we manifest these different signs of imposter syndrome. I could go on and on and on about this. And you know what? So could you. You can go on and on and on the rest of your life living it the way that you are living it right now, living it the way that you have been living it thus far. Right? You can continue in this cycle with imposter syndrome. You can continue to be holding yourself back, always doubting yourself, always comparing yourself, burning yourself out, trying to be perfect, trying to attain the unattainable. Right? Every time that you are able to celebrate a success, you're able to pull yourself right back down again. You can continue to live like that. There's nothing stopping you from that. But you don't have to. You have a choice. And as hard as it is to hear, you're choosing to live like this. And I know there are lots of different extenuating circumstances, and everybody is in their own situation. And I don't mean to sound like I am dumbing that down and illegitimizing your pain. However, I've also felt tremendous pain. I've also been in this very same boat. I, for 15 years, held myself down. And I could probably argue even longer than that I really and truly held myself back, really truly felt that I didn't belong, that I wasn't good enough in all aspects of my life, until I made a different decision. I made a different choice. And yes, it wasn't easy. And no, it was not something that I woke up the very next day and said, oh, I made a choice, and so everything is better. That's not how it works. I had to invest in myself. I had to decide that I deserve better and I want better. And that even though I'm saying the words I deserve better, I don't know how to feel them. I don't know how to turn that into reality. I don't know how to manifest this, because deep down, I recognize I still don't think that I deserve this. And that 20-year-old self, or even that 25-year-old self, this is really what I had to come to the conclusion and realize that I needed help. Now, I found my help in self-help books. There weren't coaches that were around. Barely the internet was around. Certainly when I was in my 20s, there was no internet. When I was in my early 30s was when Facebook was first starting to really come out. So, we didn't have online coaches, and motivational speakers were, very, very few, and you didn't have access to them like you do now. And so I felt like I was on my own. And so it really did take quite a long time during my teen years and my 20s and even my early 30s to try to dig myself out of this. But I did, because I invested in myself. And that investment wasn't just a financial investment. Yes, I had to buy a lot of books. I read a lot of books. I got involved in Reiki, and I did my Reiki level 1, 2, and master training. That all included an investment financially. There was lots of other things that I did on my healing journey that cost me a financial investment. But it also all cost me much, much higher investment than just money. It cost me investment in my time, and it cost me an investment in my beliefs. Right? I had to do away with all of my beliefs about myself, about the interactions that I had had with others that caused me to have the feelings that I had about myself. I had to do away with everything that I knew. I had to learn how to understand why I would take a situation and interpret how other people were reacting, how I was reacting. Why was I interpreting it the way that I was interpreting it? I had to take ownership. I really had to take a hard look at myself and figure out why I was doing the things I was doing, why I was thinking the way I was thinking. And then I had to do something about it. Every step of the way was a choice. Every step of the way was effort. And it all required sacrifice and investment. And I have taken all of those things that I learned then, and as well as things that I have learned since then that have helped reinforce my practice of self-love and self-respect and moving beyond imposter syndrome. And I've put that into a 3-month coaching program called Survivor to Warrior. And I've named it that because for the longest time, I called myself a survivor of child abuse. And I said that with high regard. I had great respect for that phrase, that I was a survivor, because to me, that meant that I hadn't just lived through it and existed. To me, that meant that I had actually survived it, which to me meant that I had kind of moved past it. But the more work that I did on myself, the more learning that I undertook, the more sacrifice, the more investment into my own well-being, my own growth and healing process, I realized that I was much more than just a survivor. I was a warrior. A warrior is when you can take a look at your mistakes and not beat yourself up for them, but learn from them. When you can take your actions and your reactions and you can break them down and say, wow, look at how amazing I am. I maybe messed that up when I went through this the first time, but look at the strength that I have to be able to recognize that. A warrior is somebody that does not settle for anything less than what they deserve. And that is truly what I am. A survivor is somebody that is still living after their experience. They're doing what they need to do to get by, and there's nothing wrong with that. But a warrior does everything that they need. They sacrifice and they invest in themselves because deep down inside, they truly know that they are worth more than they are showing themselves in that moment. They just don't know how to get there. And a warrior is strong enough to reach out and ask for help. And then even more, a warrior is strong enough to accept the help when it's offered. It's not easy. There were so many times in my journey that took me 15 years that I'm offering in 3 months because I didn't have somebody that was there holding myself accountable. And it meant that when I got afraid, that when I got overwhelmed, that when I started to doubt myself, there were times that I put it aside and I allowed that fear to fuel me. And then there were other times when I didn't, other times when I felt stronger, when I felt better supported, either by somebody else in my life or just by myself, where I would be able to look at that fear and call it out for what it was and not allow it to allow me to stray myself from my path just because I felt this fear, but to turn that fear into strength, to turn it into love. So what I'm inviting you to do is to not avoid your weaknesses, not be embarrassed by your weaknesses, but to start a journey with me, with yourself, in finding those weaknesses, honoring them, and finding a way to turn them into your strengths. Because they are the very things that are holding you back now, can be the very things that propel you tomorrow. Right? It's all a choice. If you are interested in learning more about my Survivor to Warrior coaching program, I would be absolutely honored to have a free discovery call with you. I've included the link in the brief that is in this call, but it's www.lifelikeyoumeanit.com/calendar. You just pick a time and a day that works best for you. It's 30 minutes of your time. We'll go over, what is really affecting you the most in this moment, or get a chance to get to know you and what your situation is, offer you some bits of advice that you might be able to take under your wing now and actually make an impact, a positive impact in your life today, but then also get to learn how we can actually work together so that you can really, truly learn to respect and love yourself and never settle for anything less than what you deserve, because you know your true value, you know your true worth, and you honestly are living a life that you deserve. I would be honored to help you do that. I look forward to speaking to you soon. Bless.